John Wertz, Montgomery County Tea Party. We're here with Gene DeForest. He is running for Montgomery County Constable Precinct 2 for re-election. With me is Pat Tibbs, Dennis Tibbs, Bob Bagley, Del Fessenden, and Larry Rogers. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Constable DeForest, and go with your open, please.
Well, I'm Gene DeForest. I am the constable for Precinct 2. I've been in law enforcement for a little over 40 years. I've been over in law enforcement over 30 years right here in Montgomery County. And for the last 15 years, at the end of this month, I've been the constable for Precinct 2. I've married to my wife for 41 years. I have a daughter and 2 beautiful grandchildren that are really the light of my life. They both keep me young now, so. I ran for this office 15 plus years ago. It was probably 16 plus years ago when I started out. And I had a campaign slogan as, I'm the people's choice. My campaign manager and I've come up with that. I felt that I wanted to be the people's choice. I wanted to be the one to go out here and actually work for the people, and that's what I've done for the last 15 years. For the last 15 years, I've kept it as I am the people's choice. I never have forgotten who have put me in office, and that's the people that elected me, and that's who I work for. I don't work for anybody else. I don't work for the judge. I don't work for the commissioner. I don't work for the district attorney or the sheriff or anybody else. I work for the people that have elected me and put me in the office that have given me this job. I am honored to do that. I'm honored to work for the people. I'm humbled by the support that I've had over the last 15 years. I love my job. I hate politics. I wish if I didn't have to do politics, this would be a great position. But every 4 years, yeah, that's what you have to do. And I've always said if the people want to change, then they'll make the change, and it'll be time for me to move on. And that's the way I've always believed. If the people like me and they keep electing me and put me in office, they put me there for a reason, and that's to do the job, to work for them. And like I said, I love working for the people. I love doing things for the community. I've been involved in a number of organizations throughout Montgomery County. I've been on several boards. Enjoy it. I'm a veteran. I served in the United States Marine Corps. I'm a member of Sacred Heart Catholic Church. A member of the Knights of Columbus. Very active in my church. I love people. That was like 2 minutes.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you very much. How big is your department right now in Precinct 2?
I have 16 that work for me. I have one part-time that works a contract for my Montgomery Trace. Montgomery Trace pays for him. I have a MAP deputy that does nothing but go up and down the freeway and help people broke down. That's his job, and that's what I like him to do.
Is that included in the 16?
You should, yeah, I believe it should be, yes. I have a detective that does nothing but child pornography, and he works for ICAT, which I think is a great deal that Brett Ligon has actually formed, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. I couldn't do it, but he does a great job.
Is that in conjunction with Ryan Gable and his?
Yeah, we all have ICAD detectives, all 5 constables, and Conroe PD has one in there.
So I guess I was kind of setting probably got a minute left on that. So in question number 3, it was, what do you see as the 3 major challenges for your office? And question or your first part, was I need manpower to serve the people of precinct 2, just as the other precincts have. So you have 16 now, how many is enough?
To be honest with you, I could use another 10. I'm actually the smallest constable department within the county. And to be able to keep up with growth, to be able to keep up with the laws that need to be enforced and the protection out here of the people, I need manpower to do that.
So are you 10 short now, or is this
Yes,
predicated on growth that you would need 10?
No, I'm 10 short now. Of course, our main function is civil process. That's first and foremost. That's Texas law. And that's what we get done. That has to get done first and foremost, or I get sued, or the county gets sued. So we have a civil process that comes in, and my deputies go out and they do their job, and they do diligently. They get the job done, get their papers returned back to the courts on a timely basis.
Okay.
Okay, what is your position on taking federal money?
We are very limited on the grants that we can take. Constables are just not one organization that's included in that level. If I have opportunities to apply for grants, I do, state and federal. Sometimes I can piggyback off the sheriff's department to be able to get things. We do the DWI task force. That's a grant that we get. I believe that's a state grant. Federal money, we don't get a lot of it. Like I say, constables are very limited as what we can do as far as grants go. But if it was offered to me money-wise for manpower or something, I'd probably take it. But in saying that, I wouldn't give up something to take money from the government. I don't believe in that. I'm not going to take it. They're going to say, well, we're going to give you $100,000, but you need to do this. There was no, I don't believe in that.
So did Toby McLaughlin and Tom Wolf both work for you?
Toby McLaughlin did work for me. He retired and went to do his trucking business, and Tom Wolf came in and took over his.
We're in the Montgomery Trace.
Yes.
So how many people are running for this position? Who is running for
I
it?
got 2 running against me. One more signed up yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you've been working with that budget for a long time. Where did the budget start when you first came in there, and how has it grown in the last 15 or so years?
My budget's pretty much close to the very same that it was when I first took office, with the exception of salary. I have gotten a couple people over the years, so my salary's gone up a little bit, but my office budget itself is right around the same where it has, or just a little bit less.
Oh, really?
So my budget hasn't really increased much at all. I fine-tune my budget and try not to waste any money, because that's not my money, that's number one. It's the people's money, taxpayers, and I just don't believe in wasting money. So
And what is the total budget?
the total budget, I think, is right at 1.2.
And that's total salaries included?
Yes.
And it was not far from that when you started 15 years ago? Really?
The other departments, the other constables do a lot more patrolling, get more drug busts, get more arrests, and then end up getting more money, and end up getting more constables, more deputies. Not all of them, but a couple of them. I really don't know where I want to go with this.
Why don't you arrest more people? That was
But
the last-
I know, there is a presence in precinct 2. I'd like to see more deputies out there, but at what expense do we do it?
Well, like you just said, The manpower, like we talked about earlier, is what I need to be able to perform the same job that all the other constables perform on a daily basis. And for me to be able to go out there and patrol and do the drug bust and, run DWIs and do traffic stops and stuff, I have to have that manpower to do that. Again, my main process is civil. I have got to get that done. That's my priority. And last year we had right at 5,000 civil papers. You times that by a minimum of 3, because that's the temps of service, because a lot of times you don't go out and serve the paper the very first time. So now you're talking 15,000 papers, and I have 4 deputies, and right now I have 3 deputies that serve civil process. And that's got to get done. I don't have a bailiff. I have to pull one of my deputies off the street to go do bailiff 4 days a week. Have to have it for the JP's office. I've asked commissioners and talked with commissioners and begged commissioners, and it falls on deaf ear. They ask the same question like you asked, well, how many arrested? How many do? And I sit up there and I show figures, and I can put stats together, and their stats. Last year alone, I answered over 200 calls for service myself. And I have a contract with River Plantation. It's not a written contract, but I work there at River Plantation. So I have given them my word 13 years or 15 years ago that I would take care of River Plantation. 15 years later, I'm still taking care of River Plantation on my word, on a handshake.
And they pay you like Montgomery Trace
They
does?
pay me, it's an extra job, yes. And my guys work in there, and I work in there on weekends. Never asked them to do something I wouldn't do myself. I hope I answered your question, Mike.
Okay, along the same lines, you said you could use another 10 right now. If you had these 10, you've already said you have 3 serving civil process. Apparently they're getting the job done because that is the top priority, so you don't need them for civil process. What would you use these 10 people for?
Out there to protect the citizens in precinct 2.
So it'd be basically patrol.
Patrol, working traffic, working, information when they can do, I come up with drug bust. Information I do get on things right now for drugs and for gambling. We've busted a number of gambling places around Conroe. And we've gotten a bunch of money off of it. I've got money coming in. My guy that does work that, he's working with the feds. He's also working with DEA. And they have made a number of busts. The drugs that killed the boy in Montgomery, the 2 kids in Montgomery, he was involved in that drug bust. He's the one of the ones that got the information to bust them. The pill doctor on 242, he's the one that went down there and busted them too. I mean, I have a guy that's doing a lot of that, and I am getting money for it. Sometimes it just takes a little while for the money to get through the system to get into my budget. But yes, the 10 people, put them on the street, patrol, keep the citizens of Precinct 2 safe. We have a large area. And, the Sheriff's Department's short-handed. I listen to them every weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, running calls, and they got calls stacked up. And, what I help them with in River Plantation, I do the best I can with it. I don't have a detective, so I don't take their report calls. If it's a report call that needs work done onto it, they have to handle it. I'll assist them and do anything I can to back them up. And minor stuff, I do take reports myself, and I work accidents.
Okay, roughly what are the boundaries of Precinct 2? Pretty much the central part of the county?
The central part of the county, most all of Conroe. I go from the North Loop and Airport Road out. I take all the cut and shoot all the way down to Grangerland. Going out 105 from the West Loop, everything on the south side, past McCaleb Road is ours.
Okay. Larry?
The 16 officers, I presume all those are officers, or are there any office
No.
personnel?
That's office personnel too.
That's how many officers versus?
I have 4 girls that work in the office.
So really, you've only got 12 officers,
Yes.
okay? And you have a 1.2 million budget. To put another 10 officers in there, what would that increase your budget?
You would have to look at probably right at 95,000 an officer, I guess.
So another million.
So right now,
Almost
it's
double.
probably close to $1 million for 10 officers.
And you've asked for that before?
Oh, I've asked for 2 deputies ever since I've been in office.
How many reserve officers do you have?
Oh, gosh, I don't keep up with my reserves. I let my chief deputy and my captain take care of that. Probably 10, roughly.
So in addition to the 16, you have 10 reserve officers, thereabouts,
Yes, sir.
okay? And, let's see. And does the county furnish cars for constables? Or in your precinct, is each precinct different?
Well, right now, most of my guys have their own cars. My detective for the ICAD has a county car, and my map truck, Mr. Buckaloo donates a truck to us that we switch out every 15,000 miles, I think it is. We switched it out, and he gives us another one. So, the rest of them have their own cars.
Which do you prefer? A constable paying for his own car and he turns in his receipts and everything?
No, he doesn't turn any receipts in. He gets the car allowance per year, and he pays for his car, pays for his gas, his upkeep, insurance, everything. The only thing we do is put in the radio, the lights, the equipment in the car.
How much is the
The
car
car
allowance?
belongs to him. Sir?
How much is the car allowance?
Yeah, right now, it is roughly, let's see, 18.5 or something, I think it's 18,500 a year.
I thought that the Commissioners Court changed it so that all the constables were gonna have county cars now.
They are, they've made an agreement, which I disagree with, but they want all the constables to go to county rides. And I think that's by 2019, 2020,
I don't know my all
I
dates.
don't remember. But I think the county's making a big mistake doing that.
Why is it?
It's gonna be, a lot more costly to the county than it is for them to give an officer a car allowance and let him be responsible for his own car.
Okay,
That's what I was supposed to do.
Okay. Why is the constable district boundaries different than the commissioner district boundary? Aren't they both kind of related to population?
No, the constables aren't populated, governed, the commissioners are, but you only have 4 commissioners.
Yeah, that's kind
You
of
have 5
confusing too.
constables and 5 JPs.
That's by law?
That's by law.
Every county has?
Every county,
5 and 4?
no county out here will have more than 4 commissioners and a county judge.
So is it drawn by like road miles, or do you know how the districts are drawn?
For the commissioner
Constables?
or the constables, they just make up their lines, they change them every once in a while. For whatever reason, I have no idea. I mean, to me, I think some of the boundary lines are made up wrong
Yeah.
and could be better utilized in a different manner if they changed them up a little bit.
it's the commissioners or
The constables and JPs.
Oh, okay.
But you've got, constables out there that have been in office for so long, they don't want to give anything up.
Yeah.
And one of them made a mistake standing up in Commissioner's Court one day and said, "Those are my voters, I don't want to give them up." And he was hushed up right away because that's against the law.
constables and JPs are the same?
Yes, sir. That's what the JPs are saying.
I know that some service is done by civilians. Is that right?
Civil process.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a private process servers out there, but there are some papers that constables are the only ones that can serve them. But there are a lot of civil process servers out there, and they have taken quite a bit of the workload. But if you want it done properly, you go to the constables and they get it done right. So.
Okay, I'd like to dovetail, I'm gonna take mine back if that's okay. Dovetail on what Dale said in regards to, and what you said, that you need 10 more. And that you mentioned that the sheriff's department is stacked up on the weekends and whatnot. Since they are the chief law enforcement officers of the county, doesn't it seem logical that actually the money and manpower should go back in to the sheriff's department and deputy to handle, you know, whatever increases come on the weekend rather than the constable's office?
Well, my personal opinion is if you put manpower in the constable's departments, you get better covering, because that's gonna be just for that area. And like in precinct 2, if you put 10 people in precinct 2, we're patrolling precinct 2, that's better coverage than if you give the sheriff's department 10 people, and then they spread them out all over the place. Because the sheriff's department's not gonna put them in just precinct 2. They're gonna be in District 1, District 2, District 3, wherever they go. I mean, you got the whole county.
Yeah, but aren't they fungible though, where, in other words, they can move from one precinct to another where needed, right?
Well, if you ever have a chance to listen to a scanner, you'll understand that that's good on paper, but to actually be working out here on the streets and doing that, that's tough. Because you over here in District 1 or District 5, which is like Walden and Magnolia, you may have a bunch of calls stacked up over there. And you may not have but just a few over here in District 1. Or vice versa down to District 3. District 3, you may have calls stacked up, and they got plenty of officers. But you just don't have enough officers running calls in that area. But if you had them in the constable departments, and you had them where the constables actually ran calls and did reports and did their own detective work, I think it would help out the county a lot better than what it would if it was just the sheriff's department.
There's been problems with law enforcement in the county where deputies of various organizations are supposed to be on duty and they're doing second jobs. And I know we've talked about this before. And even to the point where somebody will call in and say that they're on duty, but their GPS shows them in their driveway still, their car is still in their driveway, and it sits there for an hour, but they're supposed to be out on the road.
Yeah.
Do you oversee your guys to make sure that this doesn't happen, so that they're not double dipping, and so that we don't have incidents like this taking place?
I do. I have
Precinct 2?
checks and balances in that area. Anybody that has an extra job, they fill out a form and they turn it into the captain and turn it into the chief, and we approve it for them to work an extra job. So, and I got called on the carpet not too long ago for this very incident with River Plantation, as a matter of fact. They wanted my timesheets, and then they got the timesheets from River Plantation. Well, the timesheets for me, my chief, and 2 of my deputies that work out there. And of course, me, I don't work out there on county time at all. I work out there on weekends, my own time, from 5 o'clock in the afternoon to 1 o'clock in the morning, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Well, Sundays is 4 to 10. But my guys, sometimes they work, morning shift, sometimes they work an afternoon shift. Afternoon shift from 3 to 9. Well, what they did was they pulled the timesheets, pulled them in and checked them, pulled the timesheets from River Plantation and checked them, and they balanced. They came out perfect. There was no double dipping whatsoever. And I do not believe in double dipping. When you work for the county, you work for the county. That, you get paid for that. When you work an extra, like I tell my guys, extra job is second. This job is number one. We take care of this job first. And that's my belief.
When you said they, is that the commissioners?
Actually, our auditor's office.
And who is that? Is that internal to?
Yeah, that was internal audit, yeah.
From DA?
No, it came, we have an audit division. Phyllis Martin is over the whole county. And she's one that checks and balances. I mean, I get audited weekly, you know, because we handle a lot of money. And we've never been out, been right to the penny on everything, day in and day out, so.
Okay. Great, thanks.
Okay, Constable DeForest, you've been in law enforcement, you said for over 40 years and 15 years as constable. Tell us what you did those first 25.
Worked the streets for 15 years. I worked for Conroe PD for almost 20 years. I worked as a detective for 15 years, and I worked white collar crimes. That was my specialty. Over the 15 years, I've become an expert in white collar crimes. Made a number of great cases here in Montgomery County. Worked a lot of anything that had to do with paper, internal thefts, bank cases, forgeries, credit card abuse, anything that had to do with paper, I handled it. I was a handwriting expert. I did it all, and that was 15 years as being a detective with Conroe PD, and on top of that, I handled all the pawn shops too. Prior to that, I actually started out in law enforcement in 1973 in Ingleside, Texas. And then I went to Port Aransas, Texas. I worked there for a while, and then I came over to Aransas Pass PD and worked there for a number of years. Got fed up with it. Told them they could keep their job. I went to work for an oil field company, driving an 18-wheeler. And they went, I got promoted up into the refinery to where we kept track of all the oil coming in and stuff. And eventually they went bankrupt and laid everybody off. So I come up here to Conroe and went to work for another oil field company. And they went bankrupt and laid everybody off. So I said, well, heck, I'm going back being a cop. That's why I went to work for Conroe.
And the county has gone bankrupt.
And then, yeah. I figured, you know, law enforcement is going to be a stable position, and hopefully I would never get laid off as a cop. So, but I worked the streets for a number of years. Like I said, I worked detective for 15 years. I enjoy it, being a cop. So,
Okay, thank you.
You mentioned that during the audit, you also said that you handle a lot of money and you've never come up short. Explain, how do you handle a lot of cash?
well, we do, of course, anything that comes into the office, you know, they have to pay for. So any kind of civil papers that come in our office, we give them, they pay us to do them. So usually that's by check, sometimes it's by cash. Our tax sales, we used to handle all the tax sales for the whole county except for precinct 1, and that was paid for by cash. I mean, sometimes we'd get, you know, thousands of dollars.
What's that from, like car registrations and sales tax or what?
No, tax sales for like
Not
you
paying
pay
taxes
your taxes on your property.
Oh, okay.
And so we
Sheriff sales,
we'd
yeah.
sell it on the courthouse steps, basically. But, and we didn't take checks for something like that. We would take cashier's checks or cash. We didn't take credit card or anything either. So that's where the cash would come from. And like I said, you know, we handle literally sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. And my office manager, she is right to the penny. And we have nothing over or nothing short. And like I say, you know, we get audited I almost think it's weekly. It's probably pretty close to weekly, if not, but, and that's what the auditor does, so. And I'm very proud of my staff for being able to keep up with everything and being able to do the job that they do. And always be right on the money, not be short, not be over. You can't ask for anything better than that out of the people that work for you, so.
We're 30 minutes in.
Can I piggyback on that one
Which
for,
leaves us 15 minutes.
for a second, when you talked about y'all not doing the sales anymore, so who does the?
Well, we all do the sales now.
Every constable
All
does,
the constables do their own sales.
for each of their areas?
Yeah, it's a nightmare, you know.
Is it more of a nightmare with everybody doing it, or than when you do it all?
People liked it when it was just us. I mean, again, I have my staff that knows exactly what to do and how to do it, and, you know, they did it correctly. People had one place to go to pay for their property they bought.
Whose decision was that? Court?
Ryan Gable came in, he sent a letter out that he was gonna start doing his own rebate, and become a big stink, and
Commissioner's Court allowed it?
you know, they had nothing to do with it.
Well, who has jurisdiction over that?
You know, when he said that he wanted to do it,
Right.
you know, then, you know, he had the right to do that, and then everybody wanted to do it. I even offered to, look, you want your commission out of this? You can have the commission less 10%. You know, my fees for the postings, not me personally, but for the office to do the postings and the work that we had to do. If we sold a piece of property for $100,000, we got $10,000. If we didn't sell it, we didn't get nothing. And David Hill jumped on that. He said, yeah, he said, I'll do that right away. He said, you know, that'd be one less headache that they have to worry about.
So it was another way for them to make more money
You know,
for their departments.
yeah. And that's, and when they came in, all that money that I made off of the taxes, actually went into the county coffer. We never took a dime of it until this all started. Then everybody started getting a share of it. So you know, it depends on what you get. You know, sometimes it can be a pretty good chunk of change. Sometimes it might not be anything.
Go ahead with that one, John.
No,
You want?
so, okay. Okay, so number 6, sorry about that, I didn't mean to interrupt you, we were trying to communicate there. The number 6 is United States and Texas Constitutions as living documents. And we asked, you know, if you think they are, and then answer in the context of progressivism versus originalism. So, I mean, so you understand the living document is typically a progressive